This segment is going to demonstrate packaging a victim, specifically a firefighter, utilizing the 2-inch by 20 to 22 foot piece of webbing implement. It's important to have a couple things pre-configured and understood as the rescuer. Before I approach this victim, I want to be cognizant of which cargo pocket my webbing is loaded in. If that webbing is loaded in my right cargo pocket, I'm going to use my left arm as the control point, and vice versa if it's in the left cargo pocket. This is going to enable you to play things out systematically and control the victim's body position while deploying the webbing. We're going to go through this step by step. So as I approach the victim, I want to make sure that I straddle him and get him oriented so that I can access the shoulder straps on his harness. I'm going to use one momentous movement to pull the firefighter up into a seated position. As soon as he comes up into a seated position, I want to drop down, silence his pass, and listen to his breathing pattern and evaluate his air. So here's step one. One quick movement up into a seated position. As soon as the firefighter comes up into the seated position, I'm going to use that left control forearm to pressurize the back of the firefighter. And I'm going to go down into a 3-point stance. When I articulate off to that 3-point stance, it does a couple things for me. It keeps me high and accessing all portions of the firefighter. It also keeps my extended leg accessible so I can access my webbing. Once I have the firefighter stabilized with the control arm, I'm going to drop down to this 3-point stance and extend my control leg that has the webbing in the cargo pocket. I'm going to immediately drop down. I'm going to silence the firefighter's pass, and I'm going to listen to his breathing pattern. If the firefighter is breathing, I'm going to check his air supply and ensure that it's adequate to egress him from the structure. If his air supply is not adequate, then I'll go into quick fill or buddy breathe operations, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. Once I've managed the firefighter's air supply situation, I'm going to go ahead and prepare him for packaging. Now remember, with implement applications, we're going to utilize these either when we have a difficult traverse, obstacles on the floor, lots of corners, or significant distance to travel. If that firefighter is within close proximity of the exit point, we're big advocates of utilizing existing components, pack straps, or simple body clutches to get the firefighter out of the structure. From this point, utilizing my implement, I'm going to come back into a low crouch position. I'm going to continue to stabilize the firefighter, but notice that I've shifted my body position so that I'm on top of him with close hand movements. I'm going to reach down to my right cargo pocket. I'm going to pull out that webbing. The water knot should be at the top of my webbing pack. I'm going to make sure that I place the water knot itself right in the palm of my control hand. As soon as that webbing is in the palm of my control hand, I'm going to grab the working ends of that webbing leading away from the knot and bring them directly down to the firefighter's left shoulder blade. My control points now shift. I go from the back with my control arm to controlling the firefighter with my right hand. While I'm controlling that right hand, I'm going to quickly swim that webbing around the cylinder, bringing the knot to the opposite shoulder blade. Once I have both hands placed on the shoulder blades, it's a good way to remember this next movement by saying the knot stops. So the knot stops at this shoulder blade. The other webbing segment is going to swim under the firefighter's arm, and you're going to naturally let him fall down to that side. I've never lost contact with the webbing segments or the tail of the webbing at any point in time because it's still in my cargo pocket. That way you're not going to have any entanglements on the firefighter's feet. At this point, I'm going to take the knot hand, I'm going to push my thumb all the way through that open webbing segment. I'm going to come under his arm, pass the webbing to that left control hand, pull the rest of the webbing out of my cargo pocket, and pull it all through. I'm going to cinch it down, ensuring that this girth component is on the lateral portion of the firefighter. That's going to allow his body to travel over obstacles on a soft shoulder instead of on the bottle or on the chest, where we might either displace the face piece or get the cylinder lodged against some kind of obstruction. From this point, I'm ready to go into my drags. When contemplating the rescue of civilian victims, an implement, specifically the one we're utilizing today, is even more effective than it is with a firefighter. Not because of the versatility and all the applications that we're showing you, but predominantly because civilians don't have any other option. There's no pack straps, no gear, no component to grab a hold of. Typically speaking, our victims in a civilian environment are going to be very slippery. They're not going to have a lot of clothing on or things that we can grab a hold of without incurring further injury. So we want to make sure we get a good grab on them. One of the most challenging parts of rigging a civilian is getting them up into that seated position so that we can pressurize that seat. A really good application that you can utilize to get them up is a basic arm bar technique. So we would approach that civilian in the same way, shape, or form, get them rolled over into the supine position or on their back, go ahead and straddle them, and then in that control side arm, we're going to take their wrist and turn their hand palm up. Once that hand is palm up, we're going to go ahead and get down into that three-point stance, brace that wrist with our right hand or our webbing side hand, and with that control arm, we're going to place that palm against our armpit and bring our forearm up under the top side of their tricep. This creates a fulcrum on their arm in which their arm is not going to bend against. As soon as we have their arm locked in, we can then get our feet underneath our rear ends in a good seated position and simply lean back. When we lean back, that arm bar position is going to bring that victim up with us. From that point, we can go right to our control arm, drop down to that three-point stance, get our webbing out, and re-engage for all the victim packaging in the same way that we do for a firefighter. So from this point, cargo pocket comes open, webbing comes out, water knot in the palm of the hand, working ends coming away from the knot to the right shoulder blade, swim to the other shoulder blade. Remember, the knot stops, the webbing swims under the arm, you let the victim naturally fall to that side. Control hand goes through the webbing, marries up with the other section of webbing under both arms, go back to your pocket, pull out the tail, pull everything through, and cinch the girth on the lateral portion of the body.